Jonas, Tour de France 2022, 115 kilometers it took to get to the finish here today for the riders. It's the final stage, stage 21. Jasper Philipsen came out on top, second stage in this race. He finished ahead of second place, Dylan Groenewegen. In third place, it was Alexander Kristoff there on the sprint finish up the Champs-Élysées with the view of the Arc de Triomphe, and the Danish fans out in numbers because they're going mad for their overall winner. Only the second in the history of the Tour de France, a Dane winner, Jonas Vingegaard. Brent, we saw a rockin' and rollin' sprint coming up the Champs-Élysées. All the riders are bumping over this rough pave here, and it was a pretty darn good lead out by Bike Exchange.
Yeah, gosh, the energy here on the Champs-Élysées in Paris, being on the other side of the barriers, is incredible. All the fans so amped up, the intensity of the riders after being so depleted after 21 stages. I was really psyched to see it. Bike Exchange just about had that lead out nailed. Luka Megzek looked like he had perfectly prepared to launch Dylan Groenewegen off his wheel. A little gap opened behind him, and that was the moment of hesitation that Jasper Philipsen needed to launch out of that bunch up the right side and take his second victory of the Tour.
Yeah, and we saw Jasper just launch out over there to the right. It looked like Dylan had gone early, and it also looked like Jasper had gone early. That's a slight little uphill there, but great win by Jasper, because you think this team came in with all eyes on Matthew van der Poel, the big star of the team, but it's been Jasper Philipsen who's kind of saved the day for the team. Now, when we're rolling back to the start of this stage, it's easy breezy. If you're tuning in, you might have been confused. What the heck is going on in this race? It's a bunch of drunkards out on the road drinking champagne. What is going on out there?
These guys finally got a day where they got to roll through kilometer zero and not be attacking each other's brains out. Finally got to catch up with some of the other riders, the other teams, enjoy a slow, mellow rollout after that big transfer. Eventually we did see the pace ratchet up, and I gotta say, watching it from the outside, the intensity, the speed, the volume of the drivetrains banging around as they rolled into the Champs-Élysées that first lap was really impressive.
Yeah, we saw some of those close-up shots of the chain just bouncing up and down, looking like it's ready to fall off the big ring. We saw early on in the day, of course, ahead of the day, unfortunately, 3 non-starters, Gorka Izagir, Mike Woods, 2 Canadians, Mike Woods and Guillaume Bovan, unfortunately did not start. The latter 2 for sure due to COVID reasons, so they did not start, but we had another Canadian, Anton Dushin of Team FDJ Groupama FDJ. He was part of a 6-man group there with Owen Dahl. Those riders were riding free. It looked like it was starting to set up by Matteo Jorgensen, always out in the attack. Matteo back behind in the group. It was another American, Quinn Simmons, doing the muscle work for the eventual sprint lead out of Jasper Stuyven there. That group got whittled down. We only 2 riders left. It concluded the German Max Schachmann. They were caught with 1 lap to go, 8.6 kilometers to go, and we had a great vantage point. We were right there in the middle, walking up and down the Champs-Élysées. You've never experienced that.
No, it was awesome to see. I really enjoyed it. I'm a cycling fan for sure. Yeah, what we saw the whole race, these hotly contested breakaways, we actually did get on the Champs-Élysées. Oftentimes you see the riders roll across, sort of the first attack going over the finish line, like bang, that's the breakaway that's going to ride the laps of the Champs-Élysées. This year, no, like they still battled it out. It was group after group after group that was getting launched, coming back, getting launched, coming back. And yeah, ultimately our Canadian, who we've been rooting for this whole race, Antoine Duchesne, was up there riding really strong. You mentioned Quinn doing that killer lead out for Mads. And yeah, all the other Americans also looking good. Just, I was so impressed to see the intensity and the grit on the riders' faces as they're coming through, and the focus and the determination that they still are capable of after such a hard-fought tour.
It looked hard as heck out there. And Brent, if I'm getting a little bit confused, pardon me, because we have the race leader up on the podium giving the winner's speech as they have been doing over the last decade or so, and it's always confusing as to why those guys give a speech up there. But there he is, Vingegaard, 25 years old, Danish rider. And what a sight, because it's Jonas Vingegaard up there with the Arc de Triomphe behind him. He's flanked by Tadej Pogačar, the winner of the last 2 editions there in the white jersey. Jonas Vingegaard has his baby, a 1.5 years old, I think, and with the yellow jersey as well, along with his girlfriend, and Geraint Thomas on the other side. Now let's talk about that GC in the standings, because he won the race with 2:43 over Tadej Pogačar, and in third place, 7:22 by Geraint Thomas. And hey, Brent, didn't we see Geraint Thomas and then Tadej Pogačar hit out on Champs-Élysées?
These guys were still launching and still going for it, still putting on a show for us, which I think all the fans love. There are other guys in the bunch saying, come on, guys, let's just ride this in. But it was also a really nice image we saw of Jonas Vingegaard with his teammates. He had that nice 3+ minute buffer. They got to just slide off the back for that last lap. arm-in-arm teammates. They let the sprinters just battle it out, and they got to soak that up and also be safe, which is really important. The last thing you'd want to happen is a mishap in the final sprint.
Yeah, 5 teammates. He was celebrating there with them, and one of the teammates was Sepp Kuss, the American, who's been here at the Tour de France the last 3 editions finishing, and he talked about the importance that Primoz Roglic played in this final eventual win for the team, because it was Primoz that kind of inspired the team, that they could believe that they could win the Tour de France, and the team kept going with that structure, building up around that. We were talking today about UAE perhaps lacks a little bit of that structure in the future. If Tadej is going to want to go on to win tours, it's going to be hard for UAE, where Jumbo-Visma has this structure. If it's not with Jonas, maybe Primoz Roglic will come back, but you need a structure if you're going to try to win the Tour de France, and that's part of the winning formula. And Sepp talked a little bit about that and a little bit about the bumpy ride and not favoring today's stage.
Yeah, when you look at both those teams that were really battling the prime contenders for the GC here, they've arrived to their Tour de France victories in much different ways. I think Jumbo-Visma being so close, thinking that they had turned over every stone, they had exhausted and perfected everything, and then having it snatched away on the last stage, that led them on a search and a journey and a process, which allowed them to perfect it this time. And I don't think that it would have happened without it unfolding in such a way. And it'll really be interesting to see if Pogacar's team can sort of emulate that and do their own version of that and come back for another exciting battle yet next year.
Now, excuse me to the viewers if I did not explain where we are. Of course, we're in Paris near the Champs-Élysées. This is the Place de Concorde. We got some massive buildings behind us, Arc de Triomphe over that way, the Eiffel Tower, and the winning team over here. Their team bus, the Jumbo-Visma, they're celebrating. Also, we should mention they're the team with the winner, but the winning team is, of course, Ineos Grenadiers. They had those 3 guys up in the top overall for such a long time: Geraint Thomas, Adam Yates, Martinez, and then it was Tom Pidcock. He won up there on the Alpe d'Huez. And what a ride it's been over this last 3 weeks. And it's just been a hell of an experience, leaving from Denmark, the home country of Jonas Vingegaard, coming here into France, seeing so much great racing. And Brent, we've talked about it all along. It's been really a race that's taken its toll.
Yeah, Gregor, clearly this tour has taken its toll. And it was so nice to see that relief that just exuded out of these riders when they crossed that finish line. All of them seeking out their families, lots of hugs and kisses and tears, and just that letdown and that relief of finally being through it just reverberated through this whole place in Paris. And what a way to finish such a magnificent few weeks of racing.
And Brent, one of the highlights for me was seeing Hugo Hull get that victory in Foix. It's been a long time, only the second time in history since 1988. Steve Bauer, that was fabulous to see. And, you know, a lot of guys have struggled through this tour. Some didn't make it, but kudos to everyone from first place down to the last place and 135th place. Caleb Ewan is the Lanterne Rouge, the last rider, 5 hours and 40 minutes back in the classification. He didn't get a stage win. He crashed a couple times. He was up there fighting for it again today on the Champs-Élysées. Brent, what a ride. Thank you for being there with us and FloBikes. We've had fun. I hope you enjoyed every day of the coverage here with us at FloBikes. Here at the Tour de France, it's been an amazing ride.